All right, so you got to do the practice, okay? This, basically, I'm just really disappointed because I don't know what more to do. Today, we're going to work on a couple review questions off worksheet 5, and then a couple questions off the 2 things you picked up at the door, and then I'm going to make an assignment for the long weekend. I got about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to, the rest of the time I need to give you to do the retakes. But again, I'm only handing you the retake if you have something to show me that you're ready, okay? Yes, absolutely. And you can do that now if you want. It's right up there, Ian. Anybody else? Everybody good? Know what they're working on? We already did some problems on worksheet 5, so you might have it somewhere else. Otherwise, if you need another copy in front of the plant, okay. Ask your question one more time, Mariana. No, they're only on those 3 sections that were posted, okay? 4.4b, 4.4c, and 4.5 are what the retakes are in class today. If we have time and you have something else that you're prepared to do other than those, you can talk to me, but no guarantees because I got to deal with the people who are prepared for what we're supposed to be doing today first. All right. Any questions before I do these few examples real quick? I'm just going to do these quick. I'm not going to do a lot of audience participation because I want to get you started on this. On a question like 19, you would isolate the sine function. So if I subtract 3 sine t over to this side, I have 5 equals -5 sine of t. Some of you just need to treat the trig function as an n or a u or something until you get to the end of the problem. If I divide here, I get -1 equals sine of t. I pull out my unit circle. I know I have some down here. Okay, pull out my unit circle. The sine is 1 right up here, only one place, right? Oh, is it -1 on the worksheet that we just were talking about? Okay, then it's at 3 pi over 2. It's the only place. And it says, yep, it says 0 to 2 pi, so we're done. Which is rare, right? Most of the time there's at least 2 places something happens on the unit circle. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about 29. Can you go down to 29? OMG. The things that happened on the quiz, this is what happened. Is there a game called Take Your Turn being equal to -5? When 2 things multiply to equal -5, does one of them have to be -5? Okay, this is the concept. You're telling me if you saw this, that you would take a 2x out of this side and set each one equal to 8. That's what you did on the quiz. About half of you. That you can only solve this if you do what first? It's got to equal to 0. The only game in town is it's take your turn being equal to 0. Then one of them has to be 0, right? Okay, so all this is badly wrong. So where do I need to go back to? What do I need to do first? Yes, 2 cosine squared x plus 11 cosine of x plus 5 equals 0. I know it's messing with your minds. Just treat it like this for a minute. How do you factor that? You can use U, you can use P, you can use F. I don't care. Some of you want to use F a lot right now. All right, how do we factor this? 2n and n, that would be 10 and 1, and they're both positive, so we get an 11. So this would be n equals -1/2, and this would be n equals 5. Only n is what? Cosine of x. Yes, thank you, -5. Does it matter? Cosine can't be bigger than 1 or -1. Okay, unit circle. -1/2. Directions, again, say 0 to 2 pi. So I go to my unit circle, and I see that -1/2 in the cosine position happens at 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. Are we good? Okay. What do we do on 30? Guys, I got people adding over to the other side and dividing by tangent. Can you divide by a trig function randomly? You're going to lose solutions. You might get part of them right, but you're going to lose solutions. Every single time, the first thing we looked for was, can you factor something out, right? What can I take out of both of these? It will say square root of 3 minus 2 sine of x equals 0. Everybody see that? I factored this out and this out. I divided it out and moved it to the front. Now we have equal to 0, so I can say the tangent is 0, or the square root of 3 minus 2 sine of x equals 0. Okay? The tangent is 0 when you have 0 over some number, y over x. So I'm looking for this. Where is there a 0 in the y spot? 0 and pi. I can't name 2 pi because it's a soft parenthesis not included. Okay? But I have to call it 0 because it had a hard bracket there. Okay? If I move this around, if I subtract square root of 3 over to the other side, and then I divide by -2, I get a positive, don't I? Square root of 3 over 2, okay? The sign is positive square root of 3 over 2 here at pi over 3, and over here at 2 pi over 3. Yes? Somebody catch me if I'm wrong here, but... Okay, so those were the answers to that question, so on. How do I know I don't need plus or minus 2 pi n? It says 0 to 2 pi. All right, now I'm going to change the directions for 31 and 32, okay, to this so that we can practice that idea real quick. What would we do first, though, on 31? Yeah, add the 3, and I'm going to change them to m's just because we're struggling with factoring. Okay, how would that factor? A 3 and a 1 here, maybe? -6 and -1. I know I'm going fast. Could you have eventually gotten there? So we get 1/2 or 3. But what is m really? Sine of x. Okay, can the sign be 3? Yay, we get to throw it out. So the sign is positive 1/2, 2 places, pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6, yep. And because I changed the directions, you would have to add what? 2 pi n plus or minus 2 pi n, okay? Oh, it's gonna boil this back together and make a hot mess out of it. It's already factored, right? We have 2 parentheses multiplied together to make 0. So if we set this equal to 0, we'll have the cosine of x equals negative square root of 2 over 2. I did a lot of algebra in my head. And over here, I'll have the cosine of x equals negative 1/2. Madison, you good on the algebra? Hunter, you good on the algebra? Just moving the square root over and dividing, we're all good? Everybody? Okay. 4 answers, all of which would need a plus or minus, right? Garbage on the back. So cosine is negative square root of 2 over 2. 3 pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4? Is that right? Cosine is negative 1/2 in those same 2 quadrants, but at 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3, how did I do? Except that I can't write. And you understand that the directions that are on your worksheet would not mean plus or minus, but I changed them because I wanted to do one of those. And I wanted to have a worksheet in front of you. Yes. Remediation on 5, there isn't any over there yet? Is that right? Okay. There's some on 4 though. Everything on 4. Soon. I can try to have some by the end of the day. Well, actually, 5.2 is the only one I need more remediation on right now. 5.3 is going to be on the next quiz. Okay, the equation solving stuff, because it's not going away. We're going to have 2 sections of equation solving on the next quiz, some of which are going to include this. Okay, you pick this worksheet up on the way in, right? Can you go to the side that says multiple angle at the top, where question number 1 is x over 4, cosine of x over 4 equals 0? Find it? Before I forget, 5.1 is simplifying, and the remediation for that is going to be that circuit training worksheet you picked up at the door, okay? All right. So I'm going to do these 3 questions super fast. 4, 5, and 6. So basically, all you have to do, guys, all you have to do is pretend this says the cosine is negative 1. You look at your unit circle, and you tell me that is true. Exactly 1 place. Whoa, this one's written all over. At pi, true? That the only place cosine is negative 1? Okay. So then you say 3u, or 3x, I'm sorry, is equal to pi. So now what do I need to do? Is there a single solution somewhere on the other side of pi over 3? The cosine is negative 1 at pi, okay? So this was the solution here. And then because u was 3x, we divided. Is that right, guys? Is there one over on the right-hand side that just has a pi over 3? Okay. This one down here. Pretend it says the sine of u equals negative square root of 3 over 2. Where does that happen on the unit circle? 5 pi over 6 and... Wait a minute. Nope, that's cosine. My bad. Sine, I gotta be down here. 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3, right? Okay, but that's u, and u is really what? 2x. So how do I get x? I divide both sides by 2, or would it be easier maybe for me to explain it as multiply by 1/2? Right, that's going to get rid over here. I get 4 pi over 6, which reduces to what? Okay, if I take half of this side and half of this side, I get x equals 5 pi over 6. Is there a dot on the right-hand side for you to connect to that says 5 pi over 6 and 2 pi over 3? Okay. Okay, guys, number 6, where's the tangent 1? I kind of want to cry a lot because that was on the quiz and some of you were clueless. Yeah, we're looking for this ordered pair, right? And actually, there's two of them because they could both be negative, yes? Okay, so those ordered pairs occur at pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? Where the tangent is 1, yes? Now what do I still need to do? I can divide by 3, or I can take 1/3 of each side over here. So I get pi over 12 and 5 pi over 12. Is that one of the choices on the right-hand side? Okay. A little bit better on that? Okay, flip that worksheet over. I just want to do, I don't have time to do more than probably one of these even, but if we go back up here to the, okay, let me quickly, if this says the sign is -1, this time it says all solutions in the directions. Do you notice the difference on the choices on the right there? They got some plus or minus garbage. So where is the sign -1 on your unit circle? 3 pi over 2 plus or minus 2 pi n. But what is this really equal to? 2x, right? So now what do I have to do to all that? I have to divide by 2 or take half each of those places so that I have x equals 3 pi over 4 plus or minus pi n. Why does it have to be plus or minus pi n? Can anybody explain that? Isn't the period pi? If we had to graph that, this would be our b value. 2 pi divided by 2 would make the period pi, so it's going to repeat every pi. Please tell me that's one of the choices on the right-hand side. Okay. 3 or 5? Then I'm done. Anybody? 5? Okay. Let's start by multiplying by what? 5 over -2, the reciprocal? They just like to make these ugly. Because what is that going to simplify to? Square root of 2 times 5 divided by 5 times -2. Or, yeah, it's going to simplify to just square root of 2 over -2. They just like to disguise things because the unit circle gets kind of boring after a while, right? So let's make them look different. Okay, where is this true? This value occurs 2 places. Sign, right? So 5 pi over 4 plus or minus 2 pi n and 7 pi over 4 plus or minus 2 pi n. Okay, what am I going to have to do this time to those, though? Divide by 3 or take 1/3? So I get 5 pi over 12 plus or minus 2 pi over 3. Does that make any sense? Plus or minus 2 pi over 3? That's what the period would be, right? And 7 pi over 12 plus or minus 2 pi over 3n. Okay, pretend you can read that. Is that, are we good? Is that one of the choices? I didn't key this worksheet, so it's making me nervous. Okay. This, please read the directions, okay? This is the circuit training worksheet you picked up at the door. It says you do problem number 1, and then you find the answer somewhere else on the worksheet where it says answer, and you label that new problem number 2. Okay? It should be self-checking. When you're all done, it should come back to number 1. You see what I'm talking about? So read the directions. So your homework. Whatever remediation and retakes you need to get done, do 4 questions off each side of that multiple angle worksheet. Please, not the 4 we just did, or 2 or 3 we just did. And you do 4 on each side for practice. Okay? You don't have to do the whole worksheet. If you don't want, you want to do the puzzle because it's going to kill you to not do all of them, go right ahead. Do the circuit training worksheet. Again, I would be okay with you just doing 5 or 6 questions on there. You don't have to do the whole circuit training thing, but if you don't, it's not going to check. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm okay with you just doing 5 or 6 questions. Now, I'm going to post later today in the Google Classroom. Miss Abruzzo did a video of how to sign up to take a practice SAT test online, link it to your College Board and Khan Academy thing, and Khan Academy will give you a prescribed training plan to get you ready for the SAT. How many of you have heard of this? Okay. If you're a senior, you can pretend I just don't even have this information. I don't care. It's up to you. But I printed a copy of the practice test number 8 bubble sheets so that you could take that this weekend if you want. Okay, practice test number 8, because then all you do is you whip out your phone, you take a picture, and it goes directly to your account. It's graded, and it gives you a plan of how to prepare for the SAT. Okay, but I know some of you don't have printers at home, so I printed you all a copy of the practice 8 test bubble sheets. Does that make sense? Okay. Who needs my face? There be one.